Wake up in the morning, get my grind on. Hop in the shower, brush my teeth and get my shine on. Hey, Scholar Mac, we taking trips to different time zones. I feel like E.T. way these bitches trying to follow home. Wake up in the morning, get my grind on. Hop in the shower.
Welcome everybody to Living on Purpose podcast. We're your host, James Hagler, and myself, Jason Wilson. Tonight, we have a special guest, Rhona Bennett. Rhona, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
So Rhona is if you don't know already, she's an R&B legend within Vogue and actor, life coach. She's got all kinds of stuff going on. We're really excited about this interview. Rhona, as a child, what was your dream? What did you want to do?
I would say that I captured the dream to be a singer like Whitney Houston, more specifically at the age of 10, but I was singing and performing to myself probably by the age of 8.
Wow. Okay. Was anybody in your family a singer too, or a musician?
No. If anything, maybe my dad's mom used to sing in church a little bit, but she wasn't even in the choir really. I just remember her kind of being a hummer, if you will, or a singer. But nobody in my family kind of blazed that trail.
Wow.
So when you were singing to yourself, right? When did everybody knew that you could sing? When did it come about?
I would say I'm from Chicago. So, we have basements in Chicago.
Yeah, like that's the same ways.
Where are you from?
I'm from Boston.
Oh, gosh. You're from Hey, so you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
So we used to have those wood paneled walls back in the 70s and 80s. Yeah. You would have the insulation behind the walls.
Yes.
For me, when I would go into the basement of my parents' home, I would, see beyond those wood paneled walls into a theater, really, of people who would be appreciating whatever I was doing on the stage. I would always be performing. I don't know what I was doing, because I don't know if I was singing, I don't know if I was acting, but I was definitely entertaining.
You're doing both, right?
Yeah. And I used to have imaginary children that I would discipline, and my parents probably thought I was a little special. They would go down the stairs quite often for me to be quiet. But in the summers, my sister and I would go down to Alabama, and a lot of my family is from the South, so my mom and my dad came from the same town. And when we would go down there, my maternal grandmother used to take care of foster kids, and my cousins would come over there all the time. So that was kind of our central hub where we would hang out, and I learned to pick peas, back in the day. That was organic back then. We had a rooster.
Pecans.
Yeah.
Seriously, my dad would always go down to Alabama and pick the pecans off the trees and make pecan pie when we would come home. Yeah. So I learned really early about organic living. We had a rooster that would wake us up at 5 a.m. Send us outside to do work, but I was really young at the time, so she would kind of let me slide, but I would watch them, do the work. And somehow I would always end up rounding up the foster kids and my cousins to do a talent show. And she was the one that told my parents, maybe you want to pay attention to her. She's not just this loudmouth kind of wild, imaginative kid. There might be something there. And that's what kind of took things off.
No doubt.
Okay. So yeah, visualization is a powerful thing. So you were doing this as a child.
Yes.
Yeah, but back in the day, we all had those imaginations because we didn't have no, games to play or anything like that, video games and stuff like that. So we had to use our imaginations, and make up imaginary friends. I had them too.
Like, what was their names?
Yeah. Who you talking to down there? Nobody.
Yeah, for sure. So, at what age were you picked up by women of Brewster's Place?
That was after I had started to perform in the city of Chicago. So when I first got my opportunity to perform live, it was in church. So I do have a foundation in church. I was in the children's choir. I wasn't really that fond of our choir director at the time. So I didn't necessarily like it, but it was a great way for me to get started. And there's another group of kids that sing amazingly in Chicago, and they were called, and I think they're still going, the Soul Children of Chicago.
Okay.
And that was where I got a lot of my initial performance chops. I was the second soprano in the choir, and I was always getting hoarse, and that's what kind of pushed me into getting vocal lessons and started to refine this raw talent. And that the lady who was teaching me my vocal foundation, I don't know if she told me, but you know, when I was ready to kind of spread my wings, I got involved in a local theater in Chicago. It's called ETA Theater. It was on the south side of Chicago. A lot of Black talent came up there. I got my first chance at acting. Well, first I was a background singer. And when I saw the kids acting, I was like, I want to do that. And my mom, you know, closed mouth doesn't get fed. She went to the director and she was like, can Rhona do something, you know, like the kids are doing? And he said, okay, I'll have her the next year. He said, I'll have her understudy for the lead of this play. And I took this very seriously. I took this to heart. And so I went home and I learned these lines and I learned everything. My mother was going back and forth with me with this stuff. And the young lady who was supposed to lead, I guess she got cold feet and wasn't prepared. And so he said, well, Rhona, you have to go up and do this. And I was beyond prepared and ended up opening the play and didn't come down. And that was my introduction. And then a talent scout came to that play. And that's where I got my first agent. And they were the ones that sent me out for my first major gig that I landed with Oprah Winfrey.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. That's cool. So at what point did you become a Mouseketeer? Was it immediately after that, or how did that happen?
I booked the Women of Brewster's Place when I was 13. And then after that, I did what they call a cattle call. I don't even know if they do that anymore, where they just call kids from all over the nation. And they say, this is an audition, and you come in and they just whittle it down over time. And I went in with the cattle call of Chicago. And they ended up sending us for the final audition to Los Angeles. So that was my first experience with that. And I picked it up at 14.
Okay.
How did you like it?
Huh?
How did you like it?
I loved it. I mean,
did you?
Yeah, you know, especially in hindsight, I would say that being a Mouseketeer was me getting training on steroids. Because we did everything. They taught us, they gave us media training. I have Disney media training in me. We did music videos. We did dance numbers and performances with 5 cameras at the time. So you had to learn how to direct your energy to different cameras while you were still performing to an audience of kids that were watching. We did interviews of some of the, you know, great stars of that time. We had, you know, people like TLC and Brian McKnight, and all the major stars would come through the Mouse Club, believe it or not. We were very socially conscious at that time. So, you know, we were talking about race and equality, and we brought on Jesse Jackson and, you know, got an opportunity to interview him and travel to different parts of the United States and do docu pieces like on a glacier in Alaska.
They kept you guys busy.
Yeah.
When I look back at what they were able to accomplish with these kids, it amazes me, because we were producing 5 half-hour shows a week every day of the school week. Kids would be able to come home and watch us for a half hour after their school day. I don't know how they coordinated it, but yeah.
No doubt. So when you run into Jason Timberlake and all those guys, do you guys reminisce about that or what?
You know, I don't see Justin as much. Justin,
I'm sorry. Yeah, Justin.
It's no problem.
I hope I won't see him. He's gonna want to beat me up.
I don't see much, but initially he was very involved in coming back and connecting. A lot of kids, I mean, I'm sure you know Christina Aguilera was Ryan Gosling, who was an Oscar nominee. I mean, there are some extremely talented kids that came out of that camp. And that's another reason why I can say it was like performance arts on steroids, because they really gave this great preparation foundation for us to go out and do great things.
Did you ever suffer from like stage fright or anything like that?
I still do.
Do you?
Mean, yes. For me, people think that, just forgive me, people think that because I'm a singer professionally, that I just love to sing, that, you know, like walk into a nightclub, they're like, oh, Ro. I'm like, please don't call me. I want to be in the back. I want to admire and appreciate other people's talent. I just found out from my mom where my fear of performing in front of small groups or just being put on the spot might have come from. But for some reason, I developed this thing where I would hang back. But if I know mentally that I'm about to go in for game time, if you will, there's something else that turns on in me, and I'm just going to call it the divine, uses me at that time. But I'm not one of those that's like chomping at the bit to show my talent. It's so something that has to happen in me organically, and then I show up and I'm this me. You know?
Right. Yeah. So is it like, so would you call it a switch?
Yes.
Because my dad was the same when he fights, so he get like into this mode, and that's that. He's focused, boom, and there's nothing that can take him out of that focus. He's just in there. He knows, like, when he goes, like, he'll do a pre-training, and that's get himself ready for a training camp. And once he got the training camp, that was it. And all the way to the fight, till the fight is over.
I was going to ask you all, I see this virtual like boxing ring behind you. What is that about? Is that?
Jason did this for the podcast, and I guess you would have to ask Jason. I can't answer that question.
All right. Well, this is an interesting story, real quick. The way I met James was on LinkedIn, and I had a post about my podcast show that started actually last year during the pandemic, right in the middle of it. And I had Ray Leonard Jr. on my podcast during that time. And we had maybe like 4 or 5 other guests on there. And right before the podcast, I had a blackout for like 15 minutes. This thing was highly embarrassing, right? So, as soon as the power came back on, Ray Leonard Jr. was really cool about the whole situation. And he was like, Jason, when you're trying to do something important and help people, something like this happens, man. Wow. So he was like, yeah, don't even worry about it. It's cool. And then I made a post about that recently, back in October last year. And James made a comment on that post. And I was like, I wonder if that's Marvelous Marvin Hagler's son. So it turned out it was. And we had a conversation. He had spent 20 years in Atlanta, James? Yeah. And of course, I grew up in Atlanta. So we had a lot in common there. And, I asked him, would he like to be on a guest on a co-host on my podcast? And he said, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that's when the ring came back.
I like it.
So his dad was, one of my heroes from boxing back in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So to honor his dad and to honor James, I wanted to have something like this with a boxing ring. And, we recently just partnered up to do fight shows and fight parties actually in Atlanta starting this year in August.
Wow.
So listen, you got to come.
Okay, well, thank you for the
we might put you to work because I might need somebody to sing the national anthem. So, So how was it working with Jamie Foxx?
Amazing. I mean, you both know he's like a multi-talented beast with it. Extremely creative. I thought, even, with Jamie and the other comedians that were on there, Alex Thomas, Sully McCullough, Chris Spencer. I mean, all of them have stellar careers right now. So he was surrounded by a lot of greatness. So it was just nice to be in that energy, to watch them work. to see how they would pull from what the writers would give them and then how they would grow that thing in the moment. Always very powerful to watch really talented people take work and make it more.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. I definitely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then musically, I mean, he's very talented in that area too. Did you ever want to like collaborate with him or other musicians during that time?
Not during that time. I mean, I guess you could say that we were collaborating on the show. We did a lot of singing. Even years later, it seems that that particular time on the show has become kind of like a little cult classic. The jingle off and
Yeah.
That was the dopest one. When you first came on there and you guys was battling, that was one of my favorites. I love that one.
Yeah.
It's fun. And now that I look back on it, it warms my heart that it has become what it's become, because kids grew up with that. Now they're like in their 20s and 30s and they're still, repeating back these things. And they've always wanted us to record this song. It was like a half song that Jamie wrote. If I'm not at home, leave a message for me. People would love for that to be like a real song. So if I ever did collaborate with Jamie, I would probably want to go ahead and make that a real song.
No doubt. No doubt. That'd be dope. That would be dope.
Yeah.
No doubt.
But is there anybody else now that you would want to collaborate with?
Real talk. I love El DeBarge.
Do you?
It was like super classic, even with the ladies in Vogue. For our pregame warm-up, before we do shows, we always have like a playlist of music that when we're doing our makeup and we're just having conversations, we want to have playing in the background. And one of our staple albums is his Second Chance album from 2010. So if you don't have it, I highly recommend that you pick it up. I think he's like one of the melody kings. He has a way to move the spirit with the way that he plays chords. And then of course, singing, he has a very unique sound. DeBarge had a very unique sound, one of my favorite groups of all time. So honestly, he would be one of the people I would want to collaborate with.
Yeah, very talented musician, songwriter, everything. Yeah. Okay, now in Vogue, how did that whole group come about with you involved in it?
At the time, I was pursuing a solo career. So I had worked with Rodney Jerkins, who was a prodigy at the time. He was working on everybody's stuff. He was doing Whitney's My Love Is Your Love project. He did Destiny's Child, Save My Name. He was working with everybody. He did Michael's Invincible project. I had that tenure and I was kind of in a space where I wasn't sure where I was going next, but I was still focused on a solo career. But one of my Mousketeer brothers, Ricky, who is another exceptionally talented person, Latin Grammy Award winning, like killing it, FIFA, all of that stuff. He called me in to do a demo for a record that he was producing with another guy. And when I finished, the other gentleman was like, I don't know if you would be interested in something like this, but In Vogue is looking for another member. And I would not have that thought would never have entered my mind. One, that I would be in a group, but also that I would be with such a legendary group like In Vogue.
Yeah.
But they did decide I said, well, I don't know, maybe, and they introduced me to one of the founders of the group, Denzel Foster. And so he came in, he listened to my stuff that I did with Rodney. And I'm also a songwriter. So he was listening to some of my stuff as a songwriter. And Denny has a really interesting way of knowing, because they structured the vocals for In Vogue. So they understand how to use their strengths. And so I guess he felt like I would be a good fit for them based on what he was hearing. And so he said he wanted me to go up and meet them in the Bay. At the time, it was just Cindy and Terry, who it is currently now.
Right.
But I went up and met them. We sat in the studio. They listened to my work, and that was it. It just seemed to
Jill.
So it feels a bit divine, like Spirit already had it in mind. We were all just kind of catching up to it. I don't know.
That's interesting. So, I mean, are you guys friends? Do you guys get along? Do you fight?
Well, that's one of the things I can appreciate about our configuration. Somehow, some way, we have found a way to respect one another in our differences, keep a collective vision together, even if, like, that's the thing about groups to me, is that everybody's not necessarily going to be on the same page with
Yeah.
maybe they think it can go or where they want it to go. Maybe even the type of music you want to produce, how soon you want to accomplish something. But if you can find a way to respect where everybody is and just kind of hang back and let a collective vision come together, it can work. I've been working with them off and on since 2003. So there's twice that the original members tried to come back and, see what could happen. But for
Right.
whatever reason, it didn't happen. And I've always just kind of been there. And so here we are almost 20 years later.
Yeah.
No, it's like a team effort, though. Most groups is, that's how I see it. It's a team effort. You guys come together, you do what you have to do, make the song, go out there, do the concerts, do what you have to do, get it done. You know what I mean? Because once it's not it's all of y'all,
Yes. And that was one of the things that I wanted to do too, coming into such a legendary brand.
Yes.
Because it is a legendary brand. It's the sum of all of its parts. It's not just one person that makes the group what it is. It's all of it. Even the producers and Vinny and Tommy, they created the sound, and everybody plays a role. And so I just wanted to keep with the integrity of what In Vogue was about. How can I contribute and bring my authenticity to what is already there?
Like, creative wise, do you guys ever clash with that? I mean, everybody in the group is so talented. How do you blend that together and, not have any differences? I mean, that's got to be difficult.
You know what's interesting to me, and this is a credit to Terry and Cindy. They really respect Tommy and Denny, who created, founded the group, and they trust their direction. They even trusted Denny bringing me into the fold. They're like, if Denny's giving her the stamp of approval, there's got to be something about this young lady that makes him feel like it fits with the initial, I guess, idea of what In Vogue is about. And so even though we have worked with other producers over time, they still go back to Denny and Tommy to keep the thread of what makes In Vogue present. And so that, I think, removes our little personal egos out of the way, because it's like, well, what do you think, Denny and Tommy, and not to say that they can't think for themselves. We all have
it's like a referee, though. Like
yeah, and you respect the job of the referee. You're like, I might not agree with the call you just made on the court. You know what I'm saying? But it's a part of the game. And because I can keep the bigger picture in mind, I'm able to still play.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so where do you prefer to perform? In the United States or in Europe?
All. However,
that's a good answer.
Something about going overseas is powerful. There is something about how I experience that they respect and honor legacy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you might not hear about Lionel Richie performing in America. I don't know if you could find like a Lionel Richie concert unless you're going out there and searching it out. We seem to be obsessed a little bit in American culture, to me, with the new, the latest, and we kind of could throw away our artists. And to me, you're missing out on the seasonedness of who they are.
Right.
But Europe seems to appreciate that for some reason. You can go see a Tina Turner concert over there, and she is sold out in an arena. These people are sold out. You may not hear about Grace Jones over in America, but she's thriving in Europe.
Yeah. Still?
So I appreciate, yes.
What? Wow.
They're faithful. They're faithful.
Yeah.
And that's powerful to me. So when we go over there, they just have an appreciation for the music. They have an appreciation for R&B, maybe because it is a bit novelty, it's American, but, and they appreciate the soul that came from America. They just, I don't know, I find that there's a different level of appreciation and respect for legacy.
Of course.
Yes. Any countries in particular that you love over there?
Yes, Japan. They love the music. That was one of the first places I went where it was like a culture shock for me. I went in 2000 for the first time.
Uh-huh.
And I remember it wasn't as what I would say is Americanized now, where they have more English marquees and things that might cater a little bit to, back then it was like symbols. And I was like, order any food. I remember going to McDonald's because that's the only thing I'd be like, okay, I know that.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
But it's a fun culture to witness. I think it's such a stark difference from American culture, so that's nice to appreciate. I really loved Italy. Rome was fun. The fashion. Now it's kind of because of social media and our connectivity. I feel like we get to fashions a lot sooner. It's a lot of collaboration. But back then, before all of this accessibility, it might be 6 months before America.
Oh, definitely.
You know what I'm saying? So it was
Right.
cool to go shop and bring it back to America and stuff like that.
my dad lived over there, and when I was going over there to visit him, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get me some fashion. This is early 90s. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get me some clothes. He said, you ain't gonna get no clothes. I said, what you talking about that? He said, you ain't got no clothes to fit you.
It's really small, right?
I said, what? I was gonna get some Jabot jeans. He was like, you ain't gonna find that on your side.
No, then you probably know, James, like the food portions and size, how they eat in Europe, it's very different from America.
Oh yeah. And they have a siesta time. That was crazy. I was like, a siesta every day. He said, we're going to leave. We'll come back at, I think it was 4 o'clock or 2 o'clock. They shut down for 4 hours and they go all night.
Yeah.
Amazing. And that was another place I love, Spain. That's another favorite places to visit. There's just a different, I don't know, kind of respect for living, right? They pause. Dinner could be 3 hours in Europe and they don't think twice about it. We're so quick. We want the food now. They don't really return a lot of stuff. I remember over here, we're like, I don't want it. Oh, it's different. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Now, would you live over there?
Not now, but maybe in my whatever could be considered retirement years, depending on the type of environment it is. But a lot of things have changed with this COVID.
Yeah.
So I don't have the same affinity to going over there like I would have chosen Italy or Spain as a spot that I would do. But a lot of things have changed now, so I don't know. Yeah.
Now, Rhona, what was your motivation for being a life coach?
Oh, wow. Well, okay. So over a decade now, I remember I used to give advice to people, whether it be family, friends, or a stranger, and they would tell me that I kind of had a knack for it. I might create breakthrough for someone in the moment. And so at one point I was like, it'd be kind of cool to be a life coach. It wasn't as popular as it is now, but I was aware of that vocation. And nothing really pushed me to put real structure behind it. It was just like a fleeting desire. But after being in Vogue and the second time that the original members decided to come back together, at that time, I was a bit complacent. I had gotten comfortable, right? And I got away from a lot of the things that made me successful in the first place. So for example, in my early 20s, especially, I remember learning about things like the law of attraction and meditation, visualization, probably around 18. I was diving deep into stuff like this. And then when I hit about 20, I was very disciplined. Now I've been very disciplined throughout my career. My parents were thoroughbreds. My mom worked in the government for like 43 years. My dad worked for a construction company for like 30 some odd years. So they were very consistent people. My parents got up early in the morning. I witnessed a level of consistency and commitment. So I did have a natural affinity to structure and discipline. after about this 5 years of time, I got a little complacent. So I stopped visualizing. I used to wake up every morning, go in, used to do color therapy. I would bring in colors, that would mean certain things. And then boom, vision. And I would see myself, performing in front of arenas, performing to people in crowds. It wasn't happening yet, but I would see it every day. Boom, vision, right? So then I was experiencing some of that manifestation, obviously, with the group. But when they came back, I had gotten away from a lot of those practices. I wasn't planting seeds, watering them with my attention. I was still disciplined in my physical self because in Vogue is about that. They represent a certain kind of discipline.
Right.
But for me, my practices were kind of, like that. And so when that happened, I was like, whoa, I haven't been nurturing relationships. You know how they say your network is your net worth.
Yeah.
I hadn't been, out on the grind, if you will, auditioning or anything like that. I was just working. And so I was looking at a drought. I was like, what am I doing right now? After maybe a year of trying to figure out what that was, I was not making money. Okay. So eventually that's going to start running out. Whatever your little savings are, going to start running out.
Right.
And I had to start seriously considering, am I looking at a new career? Because all the doors of opportunity that I was trying to push open would not budge. It was like, I didn't even know, I almost felt like I was starting over, looking for an agent. I was like, where are we right now? Right. And our entertainment industry, I feel, is one of the most risky businesses in that we're very vulnerable to technological advances. Pirating started becoming a thing. People were stealing music. They can bootleg your movies. So things were happening where it was taking money out of the pockets of creatives.
Right.
And we were to learn to adapt or die, if you will. A lot of people started quitting the business. Remember, A-list actors were starting to do what was considered B-list things. They would come down to television. It was like, what is this?
So yeah. It was separated at one time.
Yeah. So this drought, if you will, was happening at that major transitional time in the entertainment industry. And so I was being pushed just like everybody else to adapt or die, if you will. And so at the time I was dating someone, and he brought home this CD from Anthony Robbins, one of the motivational gurus that are out there.
Yes.
And it was his Get the Edge series, And so he decided to play this CD that they gave them at the office just to kind of give them an introduction to what he does. And if you want to take advantage of the programs, call me. And so I decided to listen to it. And that was the game changer for me. I was like, oh, I'm in a winter because I learned how to kind of coin what I was going through. There's another great motivational speaker out there named Jim Rohn. If you're not familiar, Jim.
Yes.
ROHN for, those who want to check it out. And Jim described the seasons as something that we could experience from our human perspective. So he's like, if you're in a winter, this is not a time that we can plant seeds and water them and produce a garden. It's the ground hard, it's cold. You can't turn it over with any gardening tools. You got to hibernate like the bears. And so I was like, I'm in a winter right now. And it's a time for self-reflection. It's a time for me to reassess the choices that I've been making over time. How have they produced the results I'm looking at?
Exactly.
Right.
So that's what I did. I started to do some self-evaluation. And then I was like, I got to change my habits. Now, before I was unconsciously creating success. I had good work ethic. I was like a workhorse like my parents. I learned this great foundational disciplines from the Disney, from being a Disney kid, if you will. All these things I had picked up. All these skills, right? Get back to that. And now I got to start deliberately creating success.
And get your vision back. Once you start visioning things, because that's all happens right there. That's how the dreams become true.
Yeah.
My dad had his vision of being world champion. He always had that vision, and that's what he worked hard towards. And he always used to tell me, anything you want, you got to visualize it first. See yourself winning, see yourself doing this, see yourself doing that. And before you know it, you start doing that. Now you're living in your purpose. Now you're living the dream, and it starts to happen, you know. So I just listened to a lot of that, and I was like, wow. When I was young, I really didn't understand it too much as a teenager. But then as I started getting older, I started, you know, trying to put a little of that, testing that, and finding out success, and you know, and putting in God's hands, so to speak.
Yeah,
Things come through.
Right.
you said something key for me, putting it in God's hands. That's what I felt like was happening with me. Like God had to put me on my knees. I had to.
Yeah, that's why he got, so he could show you.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was like, I'm not letting these doors open because I need you to see something. I
That's
need
right.
you to see habits that are not producing the results you want. I need you to see the mindset that you've gotten away from that produces success. I need you to get back into a rhythm and routines for that. So I've had
Right.
to
Because
learn.
what he gave you is going to help him.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So we about to get gap. What's that?
So that was how it started. I just I got to that, and then I started studying my face off. I started following a lot of champions. I started looking at what they do to produce success in different professions, you know, looking at people who were successful respectively, but they could be in different, you know, fields.
That's right.
And then I started to blog and write. I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to help other people while I help myself. So I started writing. And then I started learning how to do video blogs and pushing myself to do things that were uncomfortable, but to
Come out your comfort zone. Yeah.
feel me. I even had to, I've been working in the entertainment industry professionally since 12 years old. I got my first 9 to 5 at 31 or something like that. It was like, I don't remember what time it was, but it was in my 30s or 35, I don't remember. And it was a very eye-opening, humbling experience. I got lucky that one of my buddies was like into alternative medicine, and that's an interest of mine as well. So I dived into his business and I learned like every part of his business. I was in customer service, I was in like shipping, I was in product creation, and I started to talk to people. And I was like noticing where there might be a void. And so I wrote books at the time. Initially, I wouldn't have thought I would have been an author, but the guy who owned the company was like, Ro, you need to write a book. And I was like, oh, you know, it sounded very overwhelming. He was like, you know, a book today
At
is.
first, it does.
Yeah, it does. But you know what got me to write? He said, Rhona, a book is 2 pages. Because he was thinking about ebooks, because they were coming up, and I was like, 2 pages. But, right. But because he chunked it down to this small goal, I was like, I could do that.
Yeah.
And that made me write my first 20-page book. And then they kept growing from there. And then and there was another book for you guys, another resource for your listeners. There was another book I picked up by this guy named Og Mandino, The University of Success. So I read that book. And I took it very seriously because I was really choosing to come out of my winter. It was stressful, it was tough. And I was like, one of the things that I kept telling myself over and over is that I'm going to call the shots on my time again. It's not going to be like this always. Because I was burning the candle at both ends of the stick. I was like going to that job, and then I wouldn't drop the ball on my personal dreams when I got home. So I would write, I would create little videos for the company, and then I would go to bed, wake up in the morning, I'm working out. I was doing my thing from the Get the Edge thing. You know, I was keeping myself on my routine. And then eventually, because I played at 150% and applied all of this stuff I was learning from books like The University of Success, I got probably 3 raises at that company within the year that I was there.
Wow.
And then I feel like saw that I was doing the work. It's like, you got it, kid. And then the doors opened again. And I was,
No, you know, you was focused, you know, that,
and
you know, people don't understand that working out plays a big part in your success, man. I mean, I had everybody say the same thing, you know, everybody just, you know, I started working out, then I started doing this, next thing you know, poof, you know what I'm saying? And I find myself doing the same thing. So, and I know this because my dad worked out all the time. So I know that's our foundation in my family. You know, you get down, you get depressed, go to the gym. Go to the gym. You know, get it moving, because once you get that blood moving and you get in that environment, you feel great afterwards. You got a lot more energy, and it just helps you. It helps you keep a balance in your head for all the
Right.
things that you're trying to accomplish.
Rhona, do you work out every day?
No, not every day, but I am picking up steam again. Under normal circumstances, I would say at least 4 times a week. But I am starting to do like natural calisthenics. So there's something that I started when I would do some of my little Instagram podcasts, like 33, 33, 33. So it's like 33 push-ups, 33 jump squats, 33 sit-ups. So it's always something that you can do to slide it in for that mental toughness, mental resilience, and physical, you know.
Yeah, you don't have to spend 30 days on it, you know, just go all these hours, just get it in. It could be 10 minutes, 2 seconds. As long as you get it in, you feel like, you know, you're like, okay, I accomplished something. I got something done. Now let's do the next step, you know?
Yeah. For all the women out there, I mean, you look fantastic. Obviously you work out, but what's your diet like?
I have a mostly pescatarian diet. I do eat a lot of vegan, vegetarian, but I will allow myself to have fish, seafood, when I want to stretch and enjoy my life. But I have enjoyed eating that way, and I fast every month for 3 days at least.
3 days. That's a good fast. That's a good fast. 3 days is a good fast.
Yeah.
You know what? I started this practice back in 2017 in the middle of the year, and I have not stopped since. There's something about, because we don't have to be perfect, right? We're just, for me, I like to tell people to shoot for excellence, because perfection, what is that? It doesn't leave you room to be human too, right? Excellence, always striving into a greater ideal. And what fasting does for me, aside from the mental toughness that it can produce, because it's like you're telling yourself that you can do this, you can control the flesh, you know, and that can produce a certain level of integrity within ourselves. But also, if you do get into some sketchy habits, you know what I'm saying? It puts a full stop on it. It's like, nope, stopping, honoring, you know, no drinking, no this, no that, whatever our things are that may be our little vices and stuff like that. It gives us the opportunity to put a full stop on that and honor ourselves, our body, and our mindsets. So that's been really powerful for me. Fast.
My dad used to always say to me, give yourself a chance. He used to always say, give yourself a chance. Don't worry about all that stuff. That's going to be there when you get there. Trust me, it's going to be greater.
Hey, word.
Give yourself a chance, you know? And I really, like I said, when I was young, I didn't understand it until I got older, and I started really thinking about that. I said, give yourself a chance. That's right. Because if I look back at it, when he was 24 years old, he was doing his thing. You know, he was fighting when he was doing his thing. He was fighting. He was giving himself a chance. He said the only thing that was going to beat him was the fact that he said, I'm not going to beat myself. That's what he said. I'm not going to beat myself. I'm going to make sure I'm in great shape and all that. If somebody beat me, they beat me while I was at my best. Not because I didn't do something.
That's stuff, man.
Yeah.
You know? And that's how he did his whole career. Every time he stepped in the ring, he was 100%.
Bless up. I like it.
So I take a lot of that advice. I start taking a lot of that advice. And started just like, man, I start remembering stuff, you know, because when you're a kid, you do what you want to do, you know. It's a different life after you get over your 20s, you know.
Yeah.
Sure. Absolutely.
Oh, that adulthood kicks in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he starts saying. Wait a minute.
Oh,
No doubt.
So, Rhona, with your life coaching, are you still doing retreats?
I am. I have a life coaching school, Personal Power University. It started in 2016, and still going strong. I just started the next round of transformation. They last for 3 months, 12 weeks, 2 Tuesdays ago. So I got a new round of students, and we're walking together to see what kind of breakthroughs we can get.
Nice.
So is it something like life management skills too? Is being taught as well?
Yeah, you know, I believe and notice through my own life experience and other people's experiences that success is not about just acquiring things, right? It's about a holistic approach to it, mental health, physical health, spiritual health, emotional intelligence and health. And so that is what I help people to do, is to walk. We go through limiting beliefs, as somebody else's approval in the way of your dreams. What does being creative really mean, and allowing that to show up for you personally and in your professional life, because you're operating in your authenticity. We talk about energy drainers. We talk about unmet needs, which a lot of people have. They don't realize it, keeps them from living from deeper places like their purpose and their values. We talk about value system, how just getting that on deck and operating from that space can improve the quality of your life, your connections, your being, your doing, your thinking, your everything. We talk about emotional stuff, and I save that for the latter end of the program, because by then I normally have been able to build good rapport with the people that I have, so they can trust me with their stuff.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
Feel me? Look under the hood now, and let's see the inner workings that could be posing a block to your prosperity. So if you've got some shame that you're carrying, you think you can hide it and repress it, it's probably repressing other things in your life. You might be trying to repress anger, but you don't realize you're also repressing your creativity. So we do shadow work, and we talk about letting go, whether it's an ideology or a person or a thing or a situation. So it's a holistic approach to success at Personal Power University.
That's wonderful.
Thank you. It's been very rewarding for me. That's my heart work, other than entertaining, that's my heart work.
Right, no doubt.
Yeah.
Awesome. Rhona, this has been a pleasure. I mean, we got to have her back, right, James? I mean,
no doubt. It was tough. I'm learning a whole lot. She got me ready to talk.
Yeah. Rhona, we got to have a part 2 now. Come on.
I would love that. This has been really great. I love being able to dig in both of your stories, James. Jason, this has been great. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Our pleasure.
Absolutely.
When Jason told me who you were, I knew from in Vogue, right? But I kept looking at your posts, and I was like, oh, some way I just couldn't put my finger on it. And then before you came on, and I was like, she was on the Jamie Foxx show. So I'm talking to and Jason's like, yes. And I was like, oh, she was the one that would give Jamie a hard time and battle Jamie, right? He was like, yeah. And I was like, wow, because when my father passed last year in March, I had to go up to Boston, and I stayed at a friend's house, and I was a little bit depressed and stuff. So he didn't have no cable. So I had to watch regular TV. And every time, I think at 11 o'clock, the Jamie Foxx show come on, and I watched all the episodes right until, I think it went off at 7 at night. I stopped from 11 to 7. Just all this show, man. It was just nice. This is a pleasure right here.
Yeah.
Great to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you too. Thank you.
Always great to talk to you, Rhona. I mean, yes. From the heart. Rhona, how can people find you on social media?
Well, you can, of course, go to my turnstile. That's rhonabennett.com. You'll get all my handles there. But if you are an Instagram person, I am official Miss R&B, and that's MISSR, the letter N and B, Miss R&B on Twitter. And then I think, even though I have a fan page, I'm more active on my main page on Facebook, and that's Rhona Bennett 7. So.
Okay. And for In Vogue fans, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Music. You can go to In Vogue Music for all of our stuff. So that's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Okay, great.
And what are the names of your books, and where can you find them?
You can find them on my website. I have 5 mini books that I've authored, and I'm getting ready to come out with oh my goodness, this has been an effort that's been being produced for me for almost 5 years. And I'm finally going to be getting ready to produce it in the probably spring, summer of this year. That's coming, and it is a mentor book for the music business, but it's speaking to the coaching aspect of it. So I get to share with you my experience, what I've observed about the industry. I've been in the business professionally for over 30 years now. So it's a way for you to know how it works, what it's about, and how to keep your authenticity while you're moving throughout the business.
Definitely. I think we should have you back on when that drops.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
I would love to come back after that drops. That's going to be major for me, a major accomplishment for me.
Okay, when is that coming out?
I'm hoping My target is May, but keeping it 100, I think it's probably going to be about June. You know what I'm saying? But it's when I'm on the tour for the mixtape tour.
Okay. Well, that'll be perfect timing because that'll be right before the fight.
Oh, bless up. Wait, what fight?
The fight that we're going to, yeah, go ahead, James.
James Hagel Promotions putting on a show in Atlanta. I mean, not Atlanta, Gwinnett, Georgia.
Okay.
And it's gonna be nice. I'm doing something that no other promoter did. So it's called Keeping the Legacies Alive.
Good for you, man.
It's going to be really interesting, and it's hard to speak about it because I have to get everything official. Right now, we're getting everything together, but I don't want to tell everybody about the card because if I do, somebody else that's already ready to go might say, "Whoop."
Yeah. That's right.
Keep it low, you know.
That's right. I would love to support that event if I'm around. I would love to come out and support that.
Awesome.
No doubt. Red carpet all day.
All right, Rhona. So I will let you know as soon as this show is edited and everything, and we're gonna blast this out on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everything.
Thank you. Thank you for this. This was great.
You're welcome. All right.
Until next time.
Yes.
Huh?
Until next time. I'll see you guys.
Next time. That's right.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right.
No doubt.
God bless you. Take care.
All right, y'all. Take care. Thank
All right.
you.
Wow.
You can find Rhona Bennett at her website, rhonabennett.com. And her social media handles are Facebook, Rhona Bennett 7, Instagram, Official Miss R&B, and Twitter, Miss R&B. Thank you so much for watching Living on Purpose podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel.